So before we dig into our last session of the day, which I'm excited about because we're going to be talking about how sales reps, manufacturers, and retailers can work better together and how they might act as a resource that you didn't even know you had. But first, we do want to thank our headline sponsor of the conference, One Coast, and we do want to share a brief message from them on behalf of Heart on Main Street, which is a new nonprofit organization in our industry. So we do want to share that message first, and then we'll get into our hot topic for the day. Joining us today, we have Richard Freeman. He is the National Sales Director of DM Merchandising, which is our 2023 Manufacturer of the Year winner as part of the Retailer Excellence Awards. He is also the president of GSMA, the General Sales Manager Association. So you'll be speaking kind of twofold on behalf of those two companies. And we also have Dawn Gruters, CEO of Broken Vessel Sales Solution and host of Inside Gift and Home podcast. So we're so excited to have you join us today. And then we have Sally Salinero. She's a sales representative with Southeast Marketplace, but she is also one of our regional sales representative of the year winners, again, as part of the 2023 REAs. And finally, Mary Beth Chafee, who is another sales rep, who was another regional winner of Sales Representative of the Year, and she is with Main Street Reps. So thank you guys so much for joining us and letting us pick your brain about how the two sides of the industry can really help one another and work better together. So Dawn, I want to start with you. So obviously, product sourcing is going to be a big primary focus of the sales rep and retailer relationship. And you talk a lot in your podcast and with us on ways that sales reps can really help retailers. And you shared some interesting tips on more creative ways that retailers can communicate what product they need to order and how they can reorder existing product with their sales rep. If you can share some of that with us.
Yeah. So thank you for having me. This is great to be on this panel. And first, I want to encourage the retailers to ask for help from their sales reps, whether they're ordering new product or they're reordering. I think it's really beneficial for them to ask for help. So, and good sales reps really want to help the retailers. So if a retailer wants to put in a vignette of something like tailgating items, asking their sales reps, hey, do you have any tailgating items that would be good in this vignette? That's a great way for those sales reps to utilize the products that they sell and help the retailers. And then also they can help utilize their sales reps when they're reordering, and they can call them and tell them, hey, my display is getting low. Can you come in and write up an order for that retailer? Or the retailer can text them a picture of the display and ask the sales rep to place that reorder. Of course, with their approval, but at least the retailer's not the one having to write the order, but the sales rep is. And as far as ways to communicate, we all communicate in so many different ways. We can text one another, email, phone call, social media, all those things. But I think using all of those ways and being familiar with the ways of communicating is really beneficial for both parties. And I also think that nothing beats a good conversation on the phone. So sometimes text messages can get out of context and things like that. But if you need to, instead of sending 10 back and forth emails, getting on a phone call will help accomplish a lot more in a shorter period of time.
I love it. And I really love the idea of like just sending a picture of your display, because it also gives your rep context of like what you're doing in your store and what you're trying to order, and makes them more a part of the general conversation. Like they can help you if they have more context.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is something I'm going to open to the full floor actually. But what questions should a retailer be asking their sales rep? Because I don't think that maybe they don't always know, what other things they could be asking for help for, or what should they be asking before they place an order with them?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually a huge fan of questions. I ask a lot of questions, and I think it's important to ask questions to get information so you can make good business decisions. So I think for retailers, asking maybe what products or product categories they're missing that maybe are successful right now. I think asking like, what are the top sellers? What's new? Of course, those are like common questions, but then what products can I make a lot of margin on? I think that's a great question. Or do you have some fun merchandising ideas? Sales reps see all kinds of different merchandising ideas. And so a retailer can take that and make that their own. And so just asking questions like that helps that sales rep then not just be an order taker, but actually be a partner.
I love it. Richard.
Yeah, to kind of tag on to that, I find the funny thing is a lot of customers will ask me, what are the hot selling products? And the problem with asking me that question is that I have a macro view of that. I'm giving an opinion of 50 states nationwide. And I think that's really a great question for their rep, because that rep has the micro view of it. What's hot, what's trending within their area. What's selling great in New York City or Los Angeles is not necessarily selling great in Dubuque, Iowa. So I think it's really important that they need to know not just the question to ask, but who to ask it of. And that's where that rep, that specialized, personalized rep in that territory can be a better resource. I think for me, the question they should be asking somebody that's a sales manager or something like that is, how can I sell more of your product? What are the what's the bundling look like? What are the display ideas? That type of thing. And again, those are still great questions for the rep, but the rep's going to give them that very localized, in their neighborhood type perspective, whereas I'm going to give them more of a national, global view of those types of things.
Awesome. And then same for Sally and Mary Beth. And what questions would you like your retailers to ask you? Or do you have examples of some of your most successful retailers, like great questions that they've asked you before?
I know my retailers, I'm in a very seasonal area. I live on the Cape and I handle Cape and the islands and Rhode Island. As many times mid-July, as we're all starting to get a little bit tired, they'll ask, what are you seeing out there? What's the foot traffic? What are people going towards? And so much of it is weather driven. A lot of times, I'll say, okay, you guys, you need to get more hats, put those out front, or we're looking for sweaters, or we're looking for sweatshirts, things like that.
Okay.
I think just an overall, like, how can you help me? And then from there, I can, go into all the different things that I can do to partner with them and help them to, help us to work together ongoing, not for just the moment, and build a really good relationship, helping them build their sales and their traffic and everything.
Okay. So Richard, you're speaking again today on behalf of both DM and GSMA. So what are your thoughts on how sales reps and vendors can be a resource for retailers, and maybe ways they can help that we haven't maybe quite thought about before, or a retailer might not have thought about before?
So starting local first, I think one of the most valuable parts of our industry is our reps. I like to say that DM has the greatest rep army in the entire gift industry. We have people that are in the face of the customer, that meet them where they are. And this became really important during COVID. Oftentimes reps weren't allowed in the store, or customers weren't willing to see them, but they might be willing to see them on a park bench out in the middle of the wide open. So we've been really pushing meet the buyer where they are. That personalized service is what brings so much value to the table. And it trickles down all the way to the retailer themselves. The retailers are always worried about an Amazon or a Walmart or something like that. But when they're offering that kind of personalized service, it makes a difference. It's an experience that can't be replicated. So for the reps, I think that's a really important part of it. When you then drift up into the sales management, the vendors, that type of thing, it's important, again, we see everybody on a global basis, but you have to be in that moment when you're standing in front of that customer at a show, when you're talking to that customer on a phone, when you're exchanging emails with them. You've got to be ever present with that specific customer, no matter size, no matter spend, none of that. It's important that we're imparting our knowledge, and nobody can sell my line like I can. Reps are great, but obviously I'm more intimately involved in the 4,000 SKUs I have versus the 30 companies and all the SKUs that a rep might have. So we are going to be able to provide the most detailed information. Again, as I was saying before, the ways to bundle it. If you price this like this and this like this, but if they buy both, they get this price. It makes a difference. And it gives retailers, going back to your margin question, the greatest opportunity to achieve margin. The other thing that I think is really important for retailers to understand is you need to be true to the vendors that have been there for you, that stuck by you through thick and thin, that have consistently delivered, that have consistently provided you great pricing, and the reps that represent those lines. There are too many vendors out there looking for the next new, and honestly, the next new is probably already in the rep's bag. You just have to stick with it. Stop seeking out things that are not tried and true, because in an economy that's not necessarily as stable as we would like it, you need something that you can depend on. So work with the reps that you can depend on. Take advantage of that loyalty, of that knowledge, of that desire to want to help you. Like Sally said, how can I make you better? And same thing with your lines. Pick your lines that have stood by you, that are providing the great service, that are providing the great product, that are providing the great margins, and move forward with those.
Okay. And Dawn, I know you talk about a lot of this in your podcast too. Like, what are the hot topics or, top concerns that you see in the industry as far as how vendors and retailers should be working better together? What are the top concerns there that you've discussed within your podcast?
Yeah. Well, I started out the podcast with just a small list, and it has grown and grown and grown. So I haven't even put a dent in that list yet. And more and more topics come up. So future episodes, that will definitely be something we take advantage of and take a look at different issues. But I think issues that, the more that retailers can know about manufacturers, issues like what resources do manufacturers have for retailers that they can share with retailers? Maybe that's marketing, or that's images of their product, things like that. And then what are things that the retailer what are things that the manufacturer is facing? So is it inventory issues? I think being upfront about that kind of stuff, inventory status, so that the retailer can make a good decision based on what's in stock and what's not in stock. Pricing. So if there's pricing increases or pricing decreases, that's something the retailer should know from the manufacturer or the vendor. If they do customization, that's, we're seeing more and more of that, where retailers want something different, and if they can customize it, and a manufacturer can offer it, that's something they would want to know. And then product trends. I think, manufacturers and vendors, they make products based on product trends, but sharing that with the retailers helps the retailers understand it more, and then they can sell it better to their end consumer. And so then that helps the retailer with that in their sales process as well. And then I think on the vendor side, seeking information from the retailers. So is it product ideas? Is it pricing? Is there a product that they want to see at a specific price? What kind of displays is the retailer looking for? What kind of merchandising or marketing resources do they have? And then that way they can also share the information from their consumers to their vendors and their manufacturers, so that they can make product that those end consumers want to buy, and the retailer is going to sell them. So it's all about being a little bit more transparent in some of the communication and on both sides, so that we can work better together.
Okay. So this is another question for everyone, and particularly Sally and Mary Beth. Let's talk about frequency, because we keep saying like, yes, we need more open communication, and these are the things we should be talking about. But ideally, how often should a great sales rep be contacting and checking back in with their buyers? And then vice versa, how frequent should a buyer be bugging their sales rep with different requests or check-ins? What is the ideal?
I think that we should see our customers at least like about every month, every 6 weeks. But in the interim, we send out email blasts that keep them aware of what the show specials are, or the current specials, what the best sellers are. If we have new lines, get new product in front of them that they might not know about, and just touch base with them to make sure everything's okay. It seems like I talk to my customers all the time. It seems like there's always something they need or want, or or orders they give me. So it seems like it's less than a month that I do talk to everybody, but as far as like being in their stores or anything, I think it needs to be every month, every 6 weeks for sure.
Okay.
I agree completely with Sally. I'm in and out of the stores all the time. In season, it's definitely frequent. I would say at least every 3 weeks. Out of season, it's probably every 6 to 8. And then seeing them usually in Atlanta as well.
I did want to talk about too. I know that we have briefly discussed this, but what are the different touch points of sort of a buyer's life that they should be getting the sales rep involved in? We talk a lot about, obviously they're going to place their order or they need to reorder. But you guys have briefly mentioned like display help. I've had a retailer tell me before her amazing sales rep even helped her to unload merchandise at one point when she needed the help. So like, what are the other touch points that they should maybe be asking for help or contacting their sales rep? And this again is open to whoever on the panel.
Well,
Go ahead.
great question. So obviously the most basic touch points are going to be orders, reorders, and customer service issues. That's where it's going to start. But you're right, there are other things. Oftentimes, I've literally had reps that have gone into a store, called me from the store, sent me a picture of 4 feet of space and said, what can we fill this with right in front of the register? And we've done planograms right there, right then. I think most every vendor would certainly help the rep create planograms for stores. Thinking a little bit more out of the box has been really beneficial for me personally anyways this year, in that I created early buy scenarios, I created planograms, I created different things that wouldn't be necessarily the norm. And it's made a difference. It's opened up several new opportunities. These are all things that certainly every vendor would help every rep with, to help every customer with. And again, doesn't matter the size. If there's a register and there's a 2-foot space under that register, you can plan a 2-foot planogram that changes every 60 days. And now that rep has that customer locked in, 6 times a year, just to make sure that's fresh and relevant. Social media, I think, is a big thing. If reps aren't connecting with their customers and vice versa, as well as vendors, they're often missing out on things. I know, for instance, the group that Sally's a part of, SE Marketplace, not only do they have a robust outreach in social media, but each of the reps do as well. I'm friends with most of them on Facebook, and I see everybody's product on there. I think that's a really good touch point, and I think that that retailers really have to get in tune with connecting beyond email and phone, and seeing what's out there, seeing what everybody else is doing.
Okay. Sally, you were gonna say something.
He said a lot of what I was going to say, but I think though that just helping, the things I kind of wrote down trying to prepare for this was just like all the basic things that we do for our customers every day, day in, day out, that make us the best reps, make them their favorites, or the ones they go to see first in the show in Atlanta, or they call when they do have some room or whatever like that. I think just the maintenance, the everyday stuff like that, like all the techie stuff and all that's great, helping them, of course, learn to use our website is a big one. But just the, going in and servicing the racks and, unloading a box or rearranging or calling on all their damages and where's my order and where's my invoice and where's this, where's that, those things are also time consuming. I have a full-time assistant that, I have one I've had for 2 years. Before that, I had one for 25 years. And, they're irreplaceable because I can't be everywhere at one time. And when I'm not available, they're there. Or when I have to pawn stuff off, like, can you check on this? Can you do this? Can you do that? There's no way I could do it by myself because it's just too big. Right now, we're checking on every back order when we get an order or do an order, because, through COVID, there had been so much problem with supply chain and so many back orders. And, it's really not safe to just turn an order in without checking for the back order. And that's a really crazy, time consuming thing. GM has made it very easy. They have a website that we can do that. But, it's little things like that we do that really make the customer trust us and seek us out and, enjoy working with us.
One thing I was going to add on to Richard's about the pre-book kind of stuff. So especially if they're pre-booking, 6 months ahead of the season, one of the things that I think is really helpful for sales reps and for the vendors is calling those customers before it's supposed to ship. So if it's supposed to ship July 1st, calling them 3 weeks before to say, hey, do you need to add anything to this order? Just because then it saves them on freight. If they're already getting free shipping for hitting a certain level, I can save you some freight if you need to add a few other things to this order. Just kind of doing those kind of services helps the retailers and the vendors and sales reps.
Absolutely. And so I did mean to bring this up too. We do have questions coming in as well. If anyone watching has a specific question that they want to pop into the Q&A function, I'll be monitoring that throughout the panel. And, we'll answer them live. So we do have a couple of questions, and I do want to remind us that, this session, we saved it for the end. This session really is not just informative for the, the viewers, but we're also using it as a way for us to actually communicate better together. So we do want everyone to kind of walk away with some, nuggets they might not have thought about, or maybe there are challenges that some of our viewers are having that our panelists don't know about. So we want this to feel very constructive, but like a two-way conversation with our viewers. So we do have just a couple of questions and comments from some of our attendees. So I did want to read Cece's. So she said, I have had trouble with outside reps because they sell 3 to 7 different companies, and she ends up reaching out directly to the company to get what she needs. What can I do to get reps to pay more attention to us, to respond to our emails? And when should she reach out to the company directly, especially when there's only one rep for her area? All right, Richard.
So I'll take this, and Sally's heard me preach this a million times. In the end, it's about the customer. And so I think there are different steps here. One, hopefully you've taken the time to establish that relationship with that rep. It is a give and take. They also want response from you when they reach out to you, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're not getting what you feel you need or what you feel you deserve, the first place you should reach out to is the rep group themselves, the rep principal. Have a discussion with that rep principal. Because you could call me, I can't affect change. Change happens locally. So the first thing you would do is reach out to the rep group directly and say, listen, I like my rep, I'm just not getting the attention I need. Can you help me here? And they can. Sometimes it's just a matter of just overlooking time. Things got out of control. Customers started calling them and threw them out of the rhythm. It can be a lot of different things. And it's usually misunderstanding and easily fixed. So rather than send up the red flag and sound the alarms, just start local. That's the best way to do that. And you'll usually get satisfaction there for sure.
Okay. All right. And then we did have just a comment about, so the planograms are helpful. However, this particular buyer has said the sales reps that she sees mostly only, they have their own agenda for the products that they are trying to sell, to be fair. But so sometimes it's difficult for them to, have a planogram with a rep because it's only going to be a very specific set of their own product. So it is just a comment that was thrown out there. You guys can either take it away or if you want to respond to it, either one.
Dawn, did you want, I see you nodding there.
Well, I think
Go
part
ahead,
of that,
Dawn.
yeah, I think part of that is asking questions then for the retailer to ask questions of the sales rep and what they're thinking, and for the sales rep then to ask the question to the retailers. Do you need a planogram? I'm happy to help you with that. But if you're not looking for a planogram and maybe you want to merchandise a couple of vendors together, let me help you with that. But it's asking those questions first so that you're not wasting a sales rep time that wants to put a planogram together for you, but it's not going to work. But then just having that open conversation with that retailer to say, okay, let's go ahead and this is what I'm looking for. Help me with this, not just automatically do it for them if that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, the other thing is, this again goes back to building your community as a retailer. So you don't want to get all your product from one rep. Okay, I appreciate that. Is it a 2-foot end cap with 4 shelves? If so, pick 4 reps and give them each 2 feet and let them show what they're going to put on it. Or if it's a 4-foot section with 2 shelves, give it to 2 reps and let them each plan 4 feet. You don't have to give the whole planogram to one place or one rep. There are so many options there. You just, again, use your community. If you've got 6 reps you really like, have them all give you an idea.
I love that. So you're basically thinking about find an area in your store that you need to fill and then visually break up that individual space into almost like different rep territories, right? Let's say that you get this shelf,
it's real estate. It's all real estate.
Yeah, I love that. And I think too, so I'll be honest, I have a question too, because I've never really heard of planograms until today. So you mentioned that. So I didn't know that was a thing. But I would think too, like, you can also have a starting point, right? So if they have a great planogram from a sales rep and maybe they want to incorporate a couple more things from somebody else, that's still possible, right? You can still get, the creative juices flowing. You can still start, right, with that same planogram.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point.
Absolutely.
And then you can tweak it from there. If you want to go smaller, bigger, whatever you want to do, add products, switch products out, you can totally tweak it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, be honest with the rep. Don't have the rep put in hours and hours and hours of time designing that and then tell them, hey, this is really great, but I'm actually going to give this to another rep or to another company. I mean, fair is fair. Tell them, look, I'd like to see what you've got, but I may take a couple of items out because I saw this item that I really liked, or I saw that item that I really liked that I want to incorporate in it. Reps will appreciate that and they'll still do the work for you.
So I love that you brought up the idea of honesty because I think it's a great topic to address. So in our first session, we were talking with some retailers in our resources section, and Allison Anderson is so great about being very honest about the communication between vendor and retailer. And one thing that she said was like, don't be afraid to tell your rep if something did terrible. Sometimes we get caught up in like, oh, I don't want them to feel bad or, whatever, but let's kind of chat about the importance of honesty and, what honest answers do you want your retailers and how can that help them move forward and improve their business?
I don't want to be the guy answering every question, so I'll open this up.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm honest as the day is long, and I was lucky enough to have parents that really instilled that in me. And to the point of, if I see something in a store that I don't think looks that great, I might tactfully somehow tell them, maybe we could change this up and make it even better, and stuff like that. Because I do think, you have to be honest with things, or especially if they're trying to order stuff that's not in their best interest. Like you were saying before about the lady that had the rep that had 3 or 7 rep lines or whatever. I have almost 30 lines. And so there's a lot to choose from. And, we can definitely find the right things that will work for her. You know, we could look at bestseller lists, we could look at different possibilities, or, you know, what is the competition doing or whatever like that. But I think, to me, I have no poker face. So if I was lying, it would be written all over my face. So there's no way that's happening. So I do think that that's one of the most important things in this whole job is being honest and just being hardworking and putting the customer first.
I'm the exact same way as Rich and Sally, because you know what? I come back to the stores. It's not me just stopping in once. I just keep coming back. And a lot of my retailers will tease me because the first thing I do is walk in and I look on their sale table to see what has not worked out. So before we start our meeting, I already know, be it my product or somebody else, that a particular category probably has not been as strong as we all hoped it would be.
Okay.
You know, and hopefully my boss isn't watching this right now, but I am brutally honest about my line, and I'll tell the customer, look, I'll sell you anything you'd like to buy, but if I sell you this item, you're going to remember me for this item because it's not one of my strongest items. I have 4,000 items. If this one's not good, I have 3,999 others that I can sell you instead. So I will, if they call off a dog, I will tell them it's a dog, just because I don't want my relationship to be about that one item. So, and when you're honest like that with the customer, they'll want to buy more from you because you haven't steered them wrong. So it's the foundation for everything we do at every level. The retailer with the consumer, the rep with the retailer, the vendor with the rep with the it's all the foundation.
Okay. I wanted to share some examples too, because I think it's easier to learn from anecdotes. And we have two sales rep winners of the year. So you both were nominated and voted on by retailers and buyers who noted some of the amazing things you've done for them. So can we just kind of share like your top highlight, like your top success stories of like, you know, how you went above and beyond, whether you helped with an event or helped mentor someone? Like, what are some of the ways you've gone above and beyond? And Sally, we'll start with you.
I think it's kind of what I just said, like the day in, day out stuff. I would love to say there's some magic thing that I've done that was just awe-inspiring, but I think it's the fact that I'm available to them 24/7. I've been doing this with SE Marketplace for 32 years, to where I don't even know my last name. My name is Sally, SE Marketplace, you know, when I call somebody. And, you know, I listen to them. I know my lines inside out, so I'm knowledgeable. I'm trustworthy. Nothing is too big or too small, you know, to do. I have the assistant that's helping me and always there, you know, helping them with our website, which is a great tool that people love, making show appointments, servicing their racks so they don't have to. You know, right now everybody's really shorthanded. They don't have enough staff to do all the things they need to do. So if they can just text me in 2 seconds and say, this is damaged, with a picture, or where's my invoice, or, you know, they don't have to call the vendor or try to get in touch with the vendor to get an invoice. Where's my order, or this is defective, or, you know, I need more of this. They can just do it in 2 seconds with a text. So I think it's just showing up, knowing your stuff, putting them first. You know, I always try to do the best by them, give them the best special I can. If there's not a special, I call the vendor and say, what can we do? Can we give them free freight? Can we give them a free rack? Can we, you know, I'm always looking for what I can do for them, even though a lot of times it costs me at the end of the day. But that's just, you know, part of the job. I wrote a bunch of stuff, but I you know, a problem solver, and, you know, conscientious, and just, I get to know their employees, which I think is important. And I get to know their store, their competitor, my competition. And it just makes it so that they want to work with me. I think that's the most important thing. I wish I had some big story, but I don't. That's just my everyday way I live my life.
No, I love it. And one of the things that you mentioned, I do remember in one of the nominations, it was about you 24/7 answering an email, a text, a this, a that.
I'll talk to customers at 3 a.m. It's happened several times before. I'll stay in the showroom till 3 a.m. That's happened before. So I exist on very little sleep, And it's like, I will take their call almost. I've been in labor having contractions and taking calls. So it's, yeah, it's what I do. I love this job. Yeah.
I love it. Mary Beth, can you share some of your, if you have any examples, have you gone above and beyond, anything you want to share, or how you're a great partner to have for your buyers, how you've helped?
Well, I don't really feel like it's going above and beyond because I love what I do.
Mhm.
And when I walk into a store or hear a buyer's voice, on the phone, or get a text that you can just kind of tell that they're at that point that maybe they need a little help, immediately reach out. And, it's the first question is, what can I do? How can I help you? What's going on? And then I go from there, be it that, can I put together, send me some pictures. What does that display look like? Okay, let me put together a quick order and see if this works. Or can I stop by the store tomorrow and do some inventories for you? If one of my buyers called me saying, oh my gosh, your orders arrived. And I said, well, I'm glad they made it. And I showed up the next day with some bagels and helped open some packages before I hit the road. And it was a blast for me. I had all kinds of fun because when we're on the road writing the orders, we don't always get to see what happens once it arrives in the store. So for them to allow me to come in and do that, I really appreciated it. It's very fun. I love to work events. Then I get to know their customers, listen, see what their customers are looking for, hearing the impressions. And like Sally, getting to know their employees. Those people are gold because they're the ones that interact with the customers the most. So if we can give them little tidbits about, oh my gosh, this vendor is based, out of the West, and it's an all-women's company, and they're so nice, and just trying to make each line a little bit more personal, that it's not just some machine cranking it out.
Right. So one thing that I did want to ask, and I forgot to earlier, but we've talked a little bit about how, reps can help, with social posts or events or, that type of thing. What materials can retailers ask for? Like if I were to place an order, what material should I ask for? Not just the product, but is there anything that supports it that vendors or manufacturers can provide?
A lot of time they'll give giveaways. We can ask for giveaways, or we get tons of samples, so we could even make up our own sample baskets to give them, to use as giveaways and stuff like that. That's one of the easiest things to do for the customer, and they like it a lot to be able to have giveaways and stuff.
Okay.
Also, always ask about point of purchase, signing, any signage, anything like that is so big. And people really don't. It's interesting. They don't think that it's available.
Right.
And, as a rep, hopefully we remember to say, oh my gosh, we got to get you this. It'll explain it so well for you. Because again, everybody's short-staffed. They can't talk about every item in the store as much as they want to.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the big asks we get for is assets, digital assets, high-res images, logos, that type of thing, so that they can use them in their social media posts, so they can use them in flyers or that type of thing. And we provide all of that. We have a Dropbox that all of our reps have access to, where they can pull down any image, any just anything, logos, that type of thing. It's all available.
Okay. And I think too, like manufacturers and vendors on that note have supplied like product descriptions and things that might help with social posts too, along those lines too, right? Things we forget to ask.
Yep.
All right. Well, if anybody else has a question, they can pop it in, but we're kind of at the end of our discussion here. Did I leave anything out? Is there anything else? Oh, we did get one last question. Oh, this is a good one. So what advice can you give reps that are control freaks to encourage them on taking things off their plate to assistants, and how this has benefited them? Does anybody want to take that on?
Assistants are a big thing now. The rep job itself has evolved so much, especially I would say in the last decade. And reps that employ assistants seem to be way more successful than those that are trying to do it all by themselves. Sally's a great example of that. She's had somebody that answers the phone, answers emails, texts, whatever, all the time. So when she's busy helping another customer, the customers that are out there aren't being relegated to, I'll get back to you after 5 o'clock. And to the rep, everyone that I've seen that has employed an assistant has increased their business because they're more omnipresent for their customers. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like 30 years ago, we had a rep come to talk to us from another rep agency, and she was a very big producer. And she said, if you want to take it to the next level, you have to have an assistant. There's just no way around it. And so I immediately, got my wheels turning, and it was very scary at first to pay somebody and have them. And I'm kind of a control freak. I think I have to do everything, but over these now 27 years of having assistants, I definitely love delegating. I used to never be able to delegate. I thought nobody could do it the way I could do it, but you know what? They can, and it will save your life because there's just not enough hours in the day to do it and to give your customers the service they deserve.
Lenise, I do have one kind of closing statement for the retailers out there. When we talk about our reps, and I manage 240 reps across the country, I describe our reps as highly trained retail consultative partners. And that for me is what rep stands for. And as a retailer, if you don't have that type of relationship with your rep, then that's where you need to start. That's when your life gets better. When that rep becomes your partner and not just a rep, your business will do better. Your sales will increase, your product mix will get better. They will be as invested in your business as you are, and they will want for your success.
And it's not as lonely that way too. You feel like you have real business partners to help you, or to even brainstorm. Like, I'm thinking of this event idea with these products, it's always nice to have someone else to bounce ideas off of and to get more inspiration. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And again, thank you, One Coast. We appreciate you.
Thank you.